Welcome to Roger Williams University's virtual presentation of our Orientation Advisors Open Q&A. We're excited to have you join us today, including our current students. I want to introduce Carol Sacchetti, who's the Assistant Dean of Programs and Orientation, who will be running our session today. Before she goes ahead and introduces the OAs that are joining us, I also just want to acknowledge that in an ideal situation, we would be seeing all of them on campus. And I'm sorry that we aren't, but I'm thrilled that we're meeting you at least virtually. I want to encourage all of you to take advantage of our virtual tours that are up on campus. If you haven't visited yet or want a refresher, we are continuing to add tour options as we go through the weeks to come. Also, other virtual sessions will be added, and we'll be announcing them regularly through email and social media, but I encourage you to continue to check that page to update. There'll be lots of opportunities to interact with current students, with Roger Williams University faculty and staff, and we're just really excited to have you. My name is Amanda Marsili. I'm the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Admissions, and we really look forward to getting to know you more through our virtual opportunities. Carol, I will hand it over to you now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amanda, and thanks for the opportunity today. I know I can speak from the orientation staff with us today that we love talking about orientation, and in this uncertain time, we're really getting excited to welcome you to campus during our orientation program. Part of our orientation program is that a lot of it is student run. So we're very fortunate today to have our 3 student orientation coordinators, and these are 3 undergraduate students who actually manage many parts of the orientation program, from selection to crafting your student guides to really handling all the details. And we're also fortunate to have one of our returning orientation advisors on the call as well. So I'm gonna introduce each one individually. They're gonna talk to you, introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about them, and then we'll move into some questions. So Thomas, we'll start with you.
Yeah. So my name is Thomas Wallace. I am currently a junior going into my senior year, and I'm originally from Lynn, Massachusetts, just a little bit north of Boston. In terms of things that I do on campus, I'm studying political science, and I have a double minor in economics and legal studies. And then, of course, as Carol said, I am one of the student orientation coordinators. I've been a part of the orientation program for the last 3 years. It's been kind of a big part of my experience at Roger Williams and has shaped me in a lot of ways. And just kind of on campus, I like to be involved in a lot of different things. It's a great way to make a lot of friends and kind of keep yourself busy outside of class.
Thanks, Thomas. Bharti, we'll move on to you next.
All right. Hi, my name is Bharti Kalaru. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am from Berwyn, Pennsylvania, so a little outside of Philadelphia. And I'm also a junior currently going into my senior year. And on campus, I'm a marine bio major, and actually I'm going to declare chemistry as my double major. And I'm also minoring in sustainability and also aiming to receive a certificate in biotechnology. And some other involvements on campus that I have are being part of the Women's Swim and Dive team. And as Carol also said, that I'm also a student orientation coordinator, and I'm also a science tutor. And yeah, that's essentially it right now.
Thanks, Bharti. Our last orientation student coordinator is Sabrina Souza.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Souza. I'm also a junior heading into my senior year. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a biology and chemistry double major with a psychology minor. I'm also involved in campus. I'm an RA, and I also work with Habitat for Humanity, as well as some other opportunities throughout campus. And I'm super excited to see and hear from you all today.
Thanks, Sox. The student orientation coordinators are managing the program, and that includes managing our 40 orientation advisors. And we're very fortunate to have Sam Avilla, who is a returning orientation advisor, on our Zoom call today. Sam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks, Carol. So I'm Sam. I use he, him, his pronouns. I am a current sophomore going into my junior year. My major is public health with a double major in political science. And stuff I do on campus includes being involved in the Student Senate, which is our student government. I was actually just elected student body president for the upcoming year, so I'm very excited for that. I am also an RA on campus. I will be an RA in Maple Hall next year, which is one of our first year residence halls. And I am also a writing tutor on campus.
Well, thank you all for introducing yourselves. If Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, but if anyone has a question, we have the chat feature at the bottom, and our students are more than happy to answer any question you might have about orientation. So feel free to type away.
Yeah, that's how we'll do this process. Just type in the chat feature. While everyone thinks of their question, Carol, it might be nice perhaps if the OAs want to talk a little bit about what happens at orientation and what to expect.
Sure. Let's see. Thomas, do you want to start with, what happens when they come to orientation?
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot that happens in orientation. So just kind of to give you the small, quick summary, orientation is a way that we kind of bring you to campus to get you acclimated a bit. And that means getting you acclimated in terms of making you familiar with the academic programs that we have available and what your specific academic program is going to look like. And then additionally, we feel that a really important part is getting you kind of adapt to the campus culture that we have here. And that means kind of learning some of the traditions that we have, getting to meet some of your future classmates. And one of the ways that we get you involved with a lot of your future classmates is these small group sessions that we have. And the way that those look like is you'll be paired with 2 orientation advisors, and then anywhere between 15 to 25 of your future classmates. And within those small groups, you're going to be having a lot of different discussions. It'll be ways for you to get to know other students, get to know those OAs, and learn a lot about the school. So between those kind of more academic sessions that you'll have where you'll be hearing from deans and different professors, you'll also have a chance to be in those kind of small group settings. So between those 2 ways, we give you a chance to really get acclimated to the university, both in terms of social things and academically as well.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Thomas. Sabrina, do you want to talk about what are meals like at orientation? What would new students kind of expect during our meal time?
Yeah, so we give, I'm sorry, my phone is ringing right now. Give me a second. But we do meals on your first day. We have the open breakfast bar as you walk in. We also have a full lunch with all of our stations at Commons, which is our dining center, open, and we have dinner as well. And then on the second day, we have a full breakfast at Commons again and a full lunch, usually with some mac and cheese and chicken tenders, which is always a fave amongst us OAs. But there's a lot of opportunities for everyone. If you have any dietary restrictions, we do meet those needs. And our staff at Commons is very gracious and welcoming and happy to help anyone.
Okay. I see we have the first question in the chat, and that is, when is orientation? So as of right now, we have 4 student sessions for new students in June. And again, we're going to reevaluate based on all this uncertainty that's happening in the world and in the country of what may happen. But our 4 orientation sessions are the middle of June. So June 15th and 16th would be orientation session 1. We take a break on Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday would be our session 2. We start again the following week with June 22nd and 23rd for session 3. Again, Wednesday is an off day for the orientation program, and then Thursdays, Fridays are session 4. Barthy, we have a question of how do we do our schedules at orientation, and do you want to take that and explain to students how our rotations work?
Yeah, sure. So I think Thomas already mentioned how during orientation you get to meet with your dean of your school and meet with your faculty advisors and different professors that would potentially teach you different classes in your schools. And so yes, you do get to schedule and register for classes during orientation, typically on the second day of orientation. So normally during registration, your deans and your advisors and faculty will be there to help make sure you get registered for the classes that you want to take for your first year. Yes, you can declare it then as well. You can declare the question was if you want to do a dual major minor, do we declare it then as well? And yes, you can do it at orientation as well.
I think a great part to the schedule is that you're actually picking the classes yourself. So we move all the academic staff, the registrar's office, you have the orientation advisors really on the floor in the library, really helping students. So we're making sure you're making the best schedule as possible. Do you have time for lunch? Do you have all your back-to-back classes? And the orientation staff will help you navigate Rogers Central so that you have someone to help you schedule your classes. So when you're doing it again in October, you've already seen our system. And we have a question. If a student is attending the August orientation, you would make your schedule in August, and we would work with you depending on your major to make sure you got the classes that were required. Some majors, some of the classes are already templated in depending on your major, but we would make sure that any student, depending on whatever orientation, there are classes put aside so you can pick your schedule. As we're talking about schedules, as we're waiting for another question, Sam, do you want to talk a little bit about our social the night of day one, just so students can hear how they're going to meet other people besides their group before we get back to questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So after day one, which is usually the longer day of orientation, of our 2-day orientation, after we're done with most of the program for day one, we all gather together in the field house, which is in the recreation center, and we combine all the groups there in that giant space, so that way you can kind of mingle and get to know other classmates who aren't necessarily in your group, and also meet other OAs that are not necessarily your OAs, but you want to kind of meet based on like majors or interests of clubs and organizations. There's lots to do there. You can play board games, you can play basketball within our within the field house. There's even an OA flash mob at some point, so you can see all of our amazing dance moves at one point. But it's just a great way to kind of breathe a little bit and kind of just meet other people and kind of who are people who are going through the same exact thing you are, which might be nerves or excitement just being at Roger Williams University for the first time as the incoming class of 2024. So it's a really exciting time, especially just to meet different people. So yeah.
Okay, thanks, Sam. And we seem to have gotten a lot of questions, so I'm glad we could throw a bonus question while people have time to type. So we have a question: is the August orientation right before move-in? And that is correct. That orientation is the Thursday and Friday prior to move-in, so that would be August 27th and 28th. And I'm going to make sure I'm actually looking at a 2020 calendar today. Yep, the August 27th and 28th would be our August orientation session. And our new student move-in happens on Saturday the 29th. Now, for some of you that might be joining us as a fall athlete or member of the honors program, you would move in a little earlier. We have a question: is if you're going to August orientation and you're in the honors program, is that a conflict? We try to make sure that there is no conflict between the honors retreat and orientation. So we ask a lot of questions of you during the application process, and then our office shares a lot of that information with the other offices to make sure we're getting you where you need to go. So we had a few students this last August orientation that were in the honors program. We had some communication with not only the students, but with the honors program. So everyone knew where that student needed to be to make them successful, both attending the honors program meeting and also our orientation program. Do classes fill up if we wait till August orientation? So August orientation is really set aside for those students, because I'm going to go into that question, and then also what is the difference between June and August. Our August orientation are really set aside for those students who live a considerable distance from campus. So Barthy, being 7 hours away from Pennsylvania, would be a candidate that we would really see at the August orientation. Of course, if you have any specific orientation scheduling issues, you could message me and I'll put my email address up here, and we'd work with you on a case-by-case basis. Classes are every student is gonna have the opportunity to take classes. Now I'm gonna let you know, and this would happen at June orientation, and the student coordinators and Sam can agree with you. You know, sometimes you may have a class, but it may not be the time that you're that excited about. So you really want to take calculus and the only session available is either 8 a.m. or 2 p.m. That happens to some of our current students as well. Students select classes based on their class year. So our student coordinators and Sam haven't even, I think all have picked classes. I think just the seniors have picked classes. And Sam, you're probably picking classes this week?
Yeah, I just picked today.
So as you can see, Sam may not have gotten all the times that he wanted, and he's coming in as a rising junior. So that's going to happen every time. So I hope that answers that. Classes, there will be classes available. It just might not be at the exact time you're excited for. We have another side question, and this may be where we ask Amanda for some help. If you need to take a language that is considered a minor, is it a foundation requirement for your major? I'm a little confused on that, but if you're minoring in a language, you could schedule those classes at orientation. Amanda, can you help me with that?
Sure. I'm not sure I understand the question completely, but if you, to Carol's point, if you want to minor in a language, you certainly can schedule those classes and have that discussion with your faculty advisor. You don't necessarily even have to take care of it right away. It's something that can have that conversation over the course of your first semester. If the question is there a language requirement for a specific major, that's a different story. If you want to clarify in the chat function, we can clear that up and connect you with the languages department so that we can get clarification on that.
And I think the student coordinators will share with you that at orientation, you're looking at classes. So we have our required 4 classes, but a lot of times you're taking classes in your major and you're taking classes to explore. So maybe you're really excited to take Spanish and you're taking a Spanish class, or you don't really know what anthropology is, but it sounds exciting and you're going to take an intro class to really help you out. We have another question, and Sabrina, do you want to take this one? Not an orientation question, but can you talk about the RA process? There's a discount on housing if you're an RA.
Awesome. Yeah, sure. So as I said earlier, I am an RA. This past year, I was in Willow, which is a first year and partial sophomore housing, and I'll be in Willow again this upcoming year. So the RA application process begins in, I think this past year, applications were due in January. And it's basically an online form that you complete. You need a letter of recommendation, and then there is an RA group process in second semester earlier in the year. It's basically a whole day of group interviews style. And then there's also personal interviews that you schedule one-on-one with some professional staff and other RAs at housing. So you have to apply, you have to be a freshman first, and there is a discount on housing. So as an RA, all housing is free, and they do have a meal plan that is also, the cost is covered, which is a new plus that they just initiated for this upcoming year, which is super exciting. I hope that answered it.
Thanks, Sabrina. We have a clarification on our language question. If I have to take a language for a major, is that considered a minor, or is it just a foundation requirement for the major? So it's international relations.
So and you take language for, is that considered a minor or just foundation requirement for the major? That's a conversation to have with your academic advisor. My guess, my educated guess, is that you can probably add that as a minor, definitely, once you get those credits accrued, and definitely a conversation to have once you're on campus with the advisor. We can also connect you with the international relations faculty member, and you can sort of have a pre-conversation about what the expectation is. But most often, and the students can correct me if I'm wrong, most often when you are taking additional classes, it's very easy to just figure out, I need 3 more credits to make it a minor, or I need X more credits to make it a double major. And the faculty really work with you so that you can kind of see that bigger picture and be able to acquire those additional majors and minors. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, definitely. And I'd definitely like to emphasize that the most important thing and where you're going to get the most concrete information is reaching out to your specific advisor, and then professors within whatever program it is that you're asking about. Always take that advice over any students that you're talking to or anything. With that being said, just because I know international relations and I'm in the department, they do let you double dip, as they call it, because foreign language is a requirement for international relations. That can be both your requirement as a major, and then if you want to make that a minor, you can have that count for your minor as well.
I think that's important to hear as we talked about registration at orientation. And when we're registering with a wide variety of different groups. So if you have a question about a minor, there might be a faculty member across the room that you just need to ask one of us. We'd be more than happy to make that introduction to really make sure you're getting that question answered right then and there. So you're not waiting around. The great part about the registration process at orientation is one of the 3 student orientation coordinators, their job is going to be to get questions answered. So they'll be wearing a specific shirt. You'll see them for 2 days, and you'll be able to track down any member of the orientation team if you were sitting right there on the floor and had a question. We have another question. If you're a student athlete, will you have a separate faculty advisor for the team members to help navigate scheduling, etc.? Barthy, do you want to help answer that question since you are a student athlete?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, I'm on the women's swim and dive team, and we actually, every student gets their own academic advisor. So there is no necessarily I guess you're asking like a team faculty advisor. It's that one academic advisor that every student gets. If you're concerned about like scheduling a class during your team practice or something, I would definitely recommend emailing your coach and just ask them, hey, like what time our practice is usually held, and they can let you know so that you can tell your orientation advisor, hey, these are my practice times. Can you help me scheduling classes that don't conflict with these times? I know for myself, like there's just some classes that I can only take that do conflict with my swim practice times, and my coach has different times for me to come in to swim so that I still get the workout in, but also like am able to, like the coaches are definitely accommodating and adjusting classes when you can take classes and get your workouts in. So definitely what I'd recommend is to reach out to your team coach and ask them first what time your practices are.
I would also say you phrased your question as if you're a student athlete, and that's the key point. You're a student first, and every one of us, especially your coaches as well, want to see you be successful not only on the playing field or in the pool, but also in the classroom. So we really want to make sure that you're having that time for academics and help with the tutoring center. We hope that answered your question. We have another question. Sam, do you want to take this? Do you work with your advisor to schedule your classes?
Yeah, so during day 2 of orientation, when you are preparing to register for classes, you do get to sit down with one of your faculty advisor or someone within your major, dependent on if your advisor is actually physically there. So you get to sit down with them and kind of discuss what the plan is for your first semester at Roger Williams, and see what classes would fit in your schedule and what you feel comfortable in taking in. Your faculty advisor would tell you to either take a certain prerequisite for an upper level class, or see if you are prepared to take some other classes. You get to meet your faculty advisor at orientation. You get to kind of work with them in terms of how you're going to schedule them, and it's a good way to kind of network with not only your faculty advisor, but with other people within the department as well, just so that way you start off on the right foot and you can kind of gain those connections once you come into Roger Williams and feel comfortable now going to any professor within your major and kind of have a conversation with them about what your future is looking like.
So I think a big question too that Sam said, you'd be working with faculty, and sometimes your advisor may not be at orientation. And that moves into our next question is, how do you find out who your advisors are? Every student will have their Rogers Central portal, and in that portal you'll be able to log on and see who your faculty advisor is. And I'm sure the students on will know exactly what presentation I'm referencing to, but we really encourage students, when you're here that first week of school, schedule an appointment with your faculty advisor. Get them to know who you are as a person, as opposed to just a name. They're going to help you with classes, but they're going to be a support system for you in addition to the faculty members of the courses you're taking in the fall. And, I would say that, we've seen, if you all want to, agree with me or tell me your experience of, meeting your faculty advisor during your first semester.
One thing I can remember is my freshman year when we had like a meet your advisor, like our advisors in the science department had like a eat gelato with your advisor session, which was really nice of them. So like that's my first I guess like memory of like meeting my advisor. We're just eating gelato and like he just was just telling us about the program and like what to expect classes wise and the course load wise, just like things like that. But I would say if your advisor does not reach out to you, definitely reach out to them. And you're also allowed to change advisors if you feel like um, if your advisor is not giving you the right advice that you believe will help you further succeed, you could always allow to change advisor as well. Yeah.
We have another question, and this might be a little bit of Amanda and I is, do you find out who your faculty advisor is before orientation? I believe you can, and that is scheduled for you by your dean and the academic program. And can you reach out ahead of time to find out about credits you may already have coming in? And if you are transferring in any AP credits or credits you've maybe taken at another local institution, you want to send those transcripts into the admissions office. Am I correct, Amanda?
Yeah, into the admissions office once you have a final transcript. And for those students who may have taken classes at community colleges or other institutions through their school, we need the transcript with the school's name on it. So if it came in through your high school and it's on your high school transcript, we can't take the credits unless it lists the university's name or it comes to the university's transcript. So something just to think about, but typically we don't get those until June, end of June, early July, because again, it's waiting for the school year to end. And I know that's in flux right now with all this uncertainty, but certainly we will be working with all schools to collect that information from our students and get them that credit.
When we have registration at the library, and the student coordinators will be excited to be taping up little questions at every computer to kind of remind you. You know, do you have credits coming in? Are you an athlete? Are you a commuter? How many classes do you want to take in a day? So that you're remembering some of these important questions as you're picking your schedule. The last thing we'd want to see is a student, you know, really taking a course that they didn't need. And our staff, not only in the registrar's office, but the Center for Academic Success will work with you during the summer. You know, if you don't want to sign up for calculus because you have credits coming in, you know, don't sign up for it, but we can make that change easily during the summer or the few days before classes start. That answers your question. And again, for those of you that joined late, please feel free to type a question into the chat feature and Amanda from admissions or one of the students will be able to answer your question.
Carol, I have a question. I would love to know the OA's favorite part of orientation.
Oh, that's a good question. All right, everyone gets an answer on that one. What's your favorite part?
For me, honestly, I love the registration portion. I love that's like one of the last things you do during orientation, but I love just being there on the first floor of the library, helping out students register for their courses, mostly because I like registering for my own courses. It's just a lot of fun in terms of the anticipation, but I love seeing being helpful for students to point them in the right direction to see, to find their department, to see what they say about scheduling their courses and just making sure they're getting pointed, navigating in the right direction, so that way they can be as successful as they can during their first semester.
I know my favorite part personally, it's on the first day. It's skits portion of the evening where your OAs get on stage and act out some scenarios that you might encounter in your first year at Roger. It's something that's really nice, and it's opens up the conversation to a lot of questions that you might have had about like, what's it going to be like, you know, finding a place to like eat on campus, or like where are some places to hang out? What clubs can I join? What other opportunities are there beyond just like the registering portion of orientation?
I think my favorite is definitely the social that we have the first day at night, where the students can come into our local gym and just we have like food and Sam already mentioned it before, just like all these activities for all the students just to kind of debrief and just like let loose and just like have fun after a long day of sessions and small group sessions and all that. And like I think Sam also mentioned how like the OAs we get to do like a flash mob for the students as well, which like we all love to do as well. So I think as it's like a debrief for the students, it's also like a debrief for the OAs as well, which I really like.
For me, it's not like one specific moment, but the kind of the culmination of all the different small group sessions that we have. We've already talked about that a little bit, but that's just kind of the chance that it's just the two OAs and then the students that are within our groups. And so it's a really nice opportunity to be able to get to know the students in our groups in like a more closed kind of personal environment, which is nice because I feel like in a lot of ways that's what fosters the close relationships that I've made with a lot of my orientees. And that like when I still see students eating in commons or whatever, I'm still able to go up and like say hi to them, because you really get to know them on that closer level when you're spending the time in that small group.
I think that's a great part to say, Thomas, is that it's really great at move in and check in when students come back, and people get excited to see not only their OAs, but those students who they were in a small group with. And, you know, my favorite part of orientation is seeing our small groups take a photo by the statue, either right before or right after registration. And you can see people have made connections with maybe 15 other students they didn't know before they got to orientation. And through that 2-day experience, they've already made connections and made some friends, not through social media, but actually in real life. We had a question that came in. Is the status portal different from the central portal? So the Rogers Central portal is your academic and kind of life at Roger Williams portal. If any of you want to correct me if I'm wrong, but that is where you can actually go in, and if you work on campus, see your pay stubs, see your credits, register for classes. Where I believe the status portal might be the Slate portal that you applied to. If you could clarify that, that would be great. But you know, the status portal, I believe, is where your checklist is. But if you could clarify which portal you're talking about, that would be helpful as well.
That would be my guess, Carol, is that the Slate portal is where you check your acceptance status. After, you can keep checking that site for your next steps. After you deposit, we do transition over into the central portal where we do everything else. And that happens after you deposit and you're given a RW email address.
You're welcome for that question. And, you know, the students would love to answer questions. They've been very excited since they were asked to be a part of it. While we're waiting, can you talk to us about, remember that far back, what was your favorite thing about your first semester at Roger? Can some of you remember that far back? Because I know you're going to be
I guess my first semester, I remember being super nervous, but also super excited to be like on my own for the first time. I think one of my favorite memories was right at the beginning of the semester. One of the orgs on campus, CEN, puts on a weekend event, and we went to the fall concert, and I remember like meeting a bunch of friends there, and it was really the first time I felt welcomed and accepted on campus like fully, and like knew that I belonged. So that was a really great moment for me.
I think my specific moment that I remember, I can't remember if this was exactly during first semester, but either way, freshman year at some point, was watching the Super Bowl. And the reason why that mattered to me was it was basically everybody that lived on my floor. We all got together, pitched in, bought a whole bunch of food for it and everything. And it was just kind of a moment of realizing that like all these completely different strangers from different parts that like I didn't know just a couple months ago were now really like super, super close friends. And funny enough, like 3 of my roommates now are people I lived with freshman year, and like the people that I'm closest with are still the people that lived on my floor freshman year. So it's just kind of realizing that I had these super solid close connections and that I could tell that they were going to last.
Yeah, I mean, same here. I felt like my first semester, I met a lot of my closest friends whether if I was living with them in the residence hall or I met them through the Student Senate. That's actually how I first met Tom, was through Student Senate. And like going like from classes and all that, like I just met a lot of different people to the point where I felt really welcomed at school, to the point where like I felt like I want to stay, I want to keep on going. And just being a first generation college student as well, just like being able to feel to the point that I've been able to like successfully like time manage everything and do like not only do well but like also like meet a lot of different people and who are still like good friends of mine. It was like rewarding. So overall, the first semester I guess was pretty a big highlight for me.
Dorothy, I'm not going to have you answer that question because you've got your own question that came in, because I think you're the only one who has studied abroad, and maybe you could talk to us about your study abroad experience.
Yes, I was hoping someone would ask about this because I love talking about this so much. So yes, I studied abroad in Bermuda this past semester, this past fall semester. Just out of curiosity, are there any marine bio, like anyone interested in marine bio in this panel right now?
If you are, you could put it in the chat and she'd be able to see it. Oh, we've got one, so go ahead.
I think, yeah, you might be interested in this program. So essentially this one is kind of designed for marine bios, or yeah, designed for marine bio students. And so basically I studied at this, it's not really a university, it's like a research institution. It's called the Bermuda Institute of Ocean Sciences. So when I got there, I got to take these rigorous science courses. I also got to conduct my own scientific research while I was there. And then I also got a scuba dive, which is my favorite part, and did a lot of like science underwater and received what's called an American Academy of Underwater Sciences certification. So I can now conduct science underwater, like using scuba diving methods, which is really, really cool if anyone's interested or has their scuba diving certification. And even if you don't, I got my certification through, we have like a scuba club on campus, and that's how I got interested in scuba diving. And so I did that through the program through Roger Williams, which is really nice. And yes, like studying abroad is so much fun. It's definitely like challenging, but I think that's the best part of it. It's like a way for you to grow as a person. That's like what I love to tell people about my experience. And I definitely recommend to any student here to definitely take advantage of the study abroad programs. We have a lot of OAs who have studied abroad these past semesters. Unfortunately, they had to come back because of the COVID-19 incident, but yeah, I would definitely recommend if anyone's interested to study abroad. Yeah. How long did you go for? I just went for the fall semester. Typically they are like semester long programs. You can also study abroad during like winter intersession or over the summer. So I guess that'd be like a month long, Carol, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, you can also, if you want to do like a shorter program, you can also look into those programs as well.
And I believe, Amanda, is there a study abroad session that's coming?
Yes, there will be 2 study abroad virtual sessions coming out, and all your questions can get answered. But yeah, there's a range of opportunities from mini semesters to spring break to summer to winter to semesters. So lots of options to study abroad.
And I think it's a great part when you look at Roger, that you're able to kind of connect and hear about all the different countries and opportunities you can have. So I know that we all lived vicariously through Barthy, through her Bermuda experience when we got to Zoom and Skype her just to kind of chat about the orientation program. How about students, what's your favorite Roger tradition? Like, as we're talking about traditions and getting students excited to go to orientation, which is one of my favorite traditions, what are what's a campus tradition that you would all say is one of your favorites?
I personally love late night breakfast. That's definitely my favorite. For anyone that hasn't heard about that already, it happens on the day before the reading day. Is that right? Day before the reading day, right? Yeah. So the reading day is the day before finals, and so it's 2 days before finals, is what I'm trying to say here. And so it's from 9 to 11 on that night, and what you get to do is you go to Commons, and there is some incredible breakfast food that is served, and the wonderful Carol Sacchetti, along with a bunch of other great faculty and staff members, are the ones that are serving you that breakfast. So it's a great chance to be able to see some of your favorite people on campus. And it's just a really nice tradition that's been around for a long time.
Who wants to go next?
I don't know if it's, yeah, I'll go. I don't know if it was working as my audio's been off this whole time, my internet connection too, so I apologize for that. But my favorite tradition is personally Spring Week. It's tough to talk about it because it just got canceled, but Spring Week is essentially like a whole week of programming put on by the Campus Entertainment Network, which is one of our 8 organizations on campus. And just like the hard work that they put in, especially with the spring concert and the final communion. So for the spring concert, the CM will bring in a big artist onto campus and will perform for Roger Williams University students only, which is super cool. And then for final communion, they do the same thing essentially, but with a comedian, a very popular comedian would come in. And then there are other things that go on throughout the week, like there's an outing to Fenway Park to watch a Boston Red Sox game. So I know that's very popular as well. And then at the end of that week, they have some block party, which is some sort of a carnival, but they have a huge parking lot near North Campus Residence Hall. And then they end that week with a huge fireworks showing behind Global Heritage Hall on that giant lawn. If you've seen pictures of that area before, it's really awesome.
I know one tradition that I love because I'm personally involved in it is the poetry slam that happens every semester. I've been able to perform there 3 times, and it's super exciting. We go into the Global Heritage Hall, which is another building on campus, and students from all over any major will fill it up, and it's a really great space to hear people's ideas and just to celebrate, all of that good stuff. I just really like it. It's a very positive environment.
I think one thing that I like is kind of geared towards the athletics, but we do this thing called SAC Olympics. So SAC on campus, it stands for Student Athlete Advisory Committee. And basically it helps, just kind of brings awareness to all the sports teams on campus. And also, so with SAC Olympics, we kind of just get all the sports teams together. We play all these, we just kind of compete against each other and play all these fun Olympic games sort of, and just kind of compete to see which sports team wins. And I think I just love that because it's just nice to support all Hawks all at one space, which is really nice.
If anyone has any non-orientation questions, the students would be more than happy to answer that as well. And I'm sending to all of you, if you have a specific orientation session question, you have my email. If you have a specific question for one of the OAs, you can send the question to me, and just let me know which OA you would like the answer to, and we can kind of work on getting them to answer the question through our orientation email account.
Well, if there are no more questions, I'd like to just thank all of our current Roger Williams students and orientation advisors for joining us tonight. We certainly enjoyed hearing from you all. Thank you to all of our accepted students who joined us today. And again, I'd encourage you to reach out with the information Carol provided. If you have any other questions, reach out to the admissions office if you have any other questions, and certainly join us for as many virtual opportunities as you're interested in. We are eager to meet you all and engage in conversation and answer your questions the best we can during these times. And so excited that you joined us tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And
Thank you.